Please welcome Nestlé Purina's product management lead, Pandu Ranganath.
My name is Pandu Ranganath. I'm a product management lead at Purina. Just a little bit of background about me. I was a director of product management at Xfinity Home, where I led the IoT platform and a bunch of IoT security products. So I've done quite a bit of work in this space. I want to start my talk with introducing a family member. Her name is Lily. So we took a picture on her 5th birthday back in April. Dressed up and wearing it well in the most recent Diwali festival. We also got her a stroller just like my daughter had one, because she can't go on long walks because she has only 3 legs. So where I'm going with all this is that pets are family. We care for them a lot. We want to give personalized care, and more people, including millennials, are owning pets. So millennials, if you think about it, are used to wearing a lot of connected devices. They use all the connected products at home. They expect technology to help raise healthy pets, right? So we all love our pets, but sometimes we love them too much. That's one of the problems we have. So a lot of the pets in the US are overweight. That's a big problem. Other thing is with cats, they're quite different from dogs. They tend to hide some of the symptoms they're facing very well, which ends up impacting their longevity, right? And then just like any other information that you seek online, we look for information from the internet. Sometimes it's useful, sometimes it's not. So that's where Petivity comes into play. So based on the extensive research that we have done, there are mainly 4 jobs to be done from pet owners, right? One is keeping their pets healthy, just like our kids and so forth. Help the pets thrive, not just survive. Achieve peace of mind, meaning your life is stressful enough, you don't want more stress raising pets, right? So peace of mind is important. And then convenience and disruptions. For example, imagine a scenario where your kid suddenly gets sick, you get called from school, right? You have to find a doctor to take care of your kid and so forth. And now imagine a scenario, your pet is sick, you're called away from work, you have to find a veterinarian in the middle of the day. Same problems, right? So we need to make sure those disruptions are minimized. So this is where pet technology comes into play, where we can utilize technology to solve some of these problems, right? So pet technology, what I was saying earlier, is a huge market, like $1 billion market, and expected to grow 10 to 20% in the next 5 years. And most of the pet tech is for dogs. And then we think that based on what we know, pet technology will be used by a household with both cats and dogs, like 50% of them, 35% will be dog only, and then 15% cats. Why this is important is that you need to know like where the market is going and where the demand is, right? And then our customers expect to see pet technology more and more in your favorite online stores like Amazon and so forth, as well as your brick and mortar pet stores. So how do we use technology to solve some of these problems, right? So what you see in those red boxes there, they're all like symptoms faced by your pets. For example, not eating too much or drinking too much water and things like that. They're all symptoms. So one of the things we do, we have like dozens of PhDs in Purina who specialize in data science as well as pet behavior. They can help identify some of these problems, right? And then map them back to actual health conditions. This is how we determine, okay, what do these things mean in terms of maintaining pets' health? And the way to do that, like I was saying earlier, is pet comes in all shapes and sizes, right? So we can't really program each of the kind of if-then logic into the in the business logic. So that's where AI comes into play. So we use AI in order to solve some of these problems. Just like any other AI models, we collect a lot of data from pets. And then that's where pet expertise and decades of pet experience comes into play. So we believe this is the unique value proposition we offer our customers. Identifying these symptoms, mapping them back to conditions, and catching those things early enough so that as a pet parent, you can act early enough in the process so you can help your pets. Right? That's our value proposition. So as Jeff was mentioning, this is one of the first products that we launched. Just want to tell you a little bit more about it. It's just a simple device that goes underneath a commercially available litter box. And it has a load cell and Wi-Fi connectivity and so forth. So the main thing this product does is to help track the bathroom habits of your cats. As I was saying earlier, the cats are known to kind of hide their symptoms. So what it does is it kind of monitors the activity over time and detects if there's any anomalies, and then just alerts you. Simple, right? But it uses a lot of AI and a lot of the processes I talked about earlier in terms of data collection, labeling, and things like that to identify what's good and what's not good, what's out of the norm, and so forth. The more interesting thing is, like, a lot of the households have multiple cats, so we can't expect them to buy multiple of these devices one at a time, which is not practical, right? So this has to work in a multi-cat environment. So this is where we help support this device where you can have multiple cats, perhaps using the same litter box, and then we'll ask the user to identify which cat is using it. That way, we can correlate the data one-to-one with the cat, right? All our devices come with a modern mobile app where you can create a profile for your pet, and then things like age and so forth, and then existing conditions and so forth. One of the unique things about this, like I talked about the overweight pets, is we'll guide you through how to document the body condition score of your pets. That way you can say, okay, this is the starting point and this is where it's progressing. And then I'll walk you through like how that will work. You'll also, just like your iWatch and so forth, you have a way to visualize the data that is coming from your pets, right? That way you know, okay, how things are working, what is normal, and things like that. One other thing is, when you go to a veterinarian, how they ask you, okay, how are things going? And you say, oh yeah, it's good. They'll check the weight and normal stuff. But imagine a scenario where you can actually pull up this information as a report, send it to your veterinarian, and have a data-driven decision, right? Like have a data-driven dialogue with your veterinarians. Hey, this is what I'm seeing. What do you think about this, right? So that is where we are going. It's like we're not just capturing the data within our app and within our ecosystem. We're also giving you tools so you can take that with you and talk to a veterinarian, right? So that's like the real, like a data-driven decision making. We also have a recommendation engine built in so we can do recommendations that is unique to your pet. One of the things that's unique about this whole solution is that we're not collecting general data and say, okay, compared to this other breed that is similar to your dog, this is what we think. It's not that. It's data collected from your pet and what's normal for your pet, right? Pets are unique, just like humans. They have different personalities. Some, for example, some dogs sleep a lot of the same breed, some don't. So that is normal for your dog. That doesn't mean it's normal for other dogs. That's where we come into play, right? It's very unique, tailored solution. We also have a Gen AI-based chatbot built into the app where you can ask questions about the data that we're collecting and learn more about it as well. This is a testimonial from one of our happy customers. A cat called Jerry had a UTI infection of some sorts, and they were able to detect that because of this device. So obviously the customer is very happy. So imagine a world where this device wasn't there, then they would have never known about this problem. Going back to what I was saying earlier about disruptions, you get a call from someone and saying, hey, cat is not doing well, then it's too late, and so forth, right? So you want to catch these things early enough so that you have enough time to take care of your pets. One good thing about these devices we're coming up with is like a full circle, right? So we collect the data, we alert you upon any anomalies, then you take an action, right, with the veterinarian or our recommendation engine and so forth. Then once you take an action, we'll continue to collect the data. Then you can see how things are going, if you need another intervention or things are going well, right? So that's the advantage of this type of devices where it's not like one time and done kind of a deal where you can continue to use it for lifespan of your pet and continue to see how things are going. Today is this condition, maybe after like 3-4 years later, it's a senior dog, for example, it's a different condition, right? So that's why we think Purina could be a lifelong partner for you. So we are continuing to expand our portfolio, working on devices that I can't talk yet. But there's another product that we launched, a microbiome, is basically check your pet's gut health and so forth. Ultimately, we want to be the most trusted and recognized pet care brand in the world by the end of 2025. That's our ambition. So that's everything that we're doing. I just wanted to share a couple of learnings that I had working both at Petivity, working on 0 to 1 products, as well as launching a number of products at scale at Xfinity. So we built back then in Xfinity a custom IoT platform on our own on AWS. We did not use the AWS core, for example. So we learned a lot from that experience. And the platform helped launch tens of millions of devices within Xfinity, and we secure over like 1 billion devices across the internet for our users. So one of the things I want to share with you is systems thinking. We talked a lot about devices, edge AI, and so forth, but if you don't have systems thinking, it's really, really hard to launch any of these products at scale with good user experience. Let me tell you a little bit about that. So if you think about it, you have the hardware, the firmware, industrial design, mechanical engineering, everything on one set of things, right? It connects to the IoT platform. Then you have the data engineering platform. Then you have the mobile application. Then you have the customer service. All of these things have to work in conjunction with each other. And then you'll have the flexibility to offload things from edge to cloud or cloud to edge. You have to balance like operating cost, for example. If you think about it, in a scenario where you bring multiple partners to help solve individual problems, how are you going to track things from one end to another end, right? Like if there is a problem, how do you know where the problem is happening? So that's where things like distributed logging comes into play, right? So thinking things ahead of time and thinking about options, for example, let's say you're burning too much battery on the edge in order to send data up to the cloud. So you have the option of, let's say, encoding, provided your platform supports it, right? So there are a lot of levers at your disposal if you know if you think end-to-end and think beyond just the device set of things, right? So that's one. Also, thinking about user experience perspective. As you guys know, like the AI is not, definitive thing, right? So you can't say, if this happens, this is what you do. It's kind of you need a partnership kind of thing with end users as well. Like, for example, we may want them to do some labeling for you, like a human in the loop kind of a scenario. So for our solution to work. But how do you build a good experience to make it easy for the end user, right? Because if you're too technically focused and only hardware and that kind of stuff, so it's very hard to offer good user experience. Another thing I learned is that knowing the environment you are in, users are in, it's very important. For example, if you are in an environment where in an apartment complex, you're sharing a router with other apartment, there may be a need to kind of whitelist your device, your MAC address, for example, right? But then how do they get that from the device? Is it easy for them to read it? Or can we show that in the mobile app? A simple decision like that will either enable activation or not, right? So knowing the environment the devices are going to be used in is also super important. Finally, having worked at big companies, security and privacy are, I can't stress enough, right? Because a lot of the times we are running fast to get the functionality to work, but then don't think about the security, right? So for example, if you look at the IoT devices, you have the secure boot, secure storage, a lot of those things, also certificates, for example, to authenticate with IoT platforms. Then you have to think about, okay, is it one certificate per class of devices, individual certificate, but then what is the longevity of the certificate, how often you renew, can the certificate authority can even scale to deliver so many certificates, can all these devices request certificates at the same time, for example? All of those things matter because you may have the perfect AI, but if you can't authenticate with IoT platform, nothing matters, right? So every small of these details matter. Another thing I learned the hard way is also privacy. Collect the minimum possible information from your end users to offer best possible user experience. Be very wary of what you're actually logging in the logs, right? So you don't want people to get hold of your logs and get an identity of your customers. It's going to be like a nightmare, right? So things like that, paying attention to security, also end-to-end security as well, like what kind of protocols you're using, what happens, how do you do man-in-the-middle testing, how do you do pen testing on your firmware. So things like that have to be thought through ahead of time. One last thing I would say is like knowing the gates that you have to get through in order to production is super important, especially in big companies where there is like a brand name at risk, right? So one example I would like to give you is in some of the products that you buy online, is the default password is admin and admin, right? So then you have to think about, okay, as a better company, how would I prevent that from happening? So can I offer like a randomized username and password from the get-go, for example, right? And where will they find that information and things like that. So again, thinking from end-to-end security perspective and things like that would be very important for you and your company as well, instead of having a data leak and things like that. That's all I wanted to share, and thank you for listening to me. Appreciate it.